good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for coming out tonight for a discussion of a really compelling issue. It always was compelling. It's even more compelling now, I would say, in the post-election climate. I'm very pleased to introduce to you, well, first let me say, Lindolfo, so that you know, we have a 12-week series on how St. John's can make a difference in our community. This is the third part of that series, and we're talking about how to bridge divides across the socioeconomic spectrum, across faith communities, in any way where a divide needs to be bridged. And that's what this segment is about, and you're our second speaker.
Oh.
So we welcome you tonight. Lindolfo Carballo is the Community Economic Development Director for an organization called CASA. He'll tell you more about CASA, but one sentence. It was founded in 1985 to help Central American refugees who were escaping civil strife and war in their home countries. And it's been around for 30 years. It's expanded in Maryland and Virginia. And he will explain what it does as an immigrant and Latino community advocacy and assistance organization. But Lindolfo is originally from El Salvador, and he was a professor of sciences, natural sciences, biology, and chemistry while there. And when he was in academia, it was in the 1980s during the war in El Salvador, and he was very active in political and student movements at that time. He immigrated to the US in the 1990s, and since his passion has always been socio-economic justice issues, he's had a long career working as a labor organizer. He worked with unions in places like California and Massachusetts, and he's been an advocate for affordable housing. He came to Maryland in 2010 and got his master's degree in community economic development and started to work with CASA and helped found, actually, the CASA office in Virginia in 2014. And now he's working in this area of community economic development. So tonight we've asked him to talk to us a little bit about what is the community he's serving exactly. There are 85,000 members of CASA. You can tell us a little bit about them. What are the major issues that we're looking at in this community? And of course, the focus for us here at St. John's and all these good people who've come out tonight is how can we make a difference working on these issues with this community? Okay?
Wonderful.
Great. Well, let me say welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
we'll ask you to speak for maybe 15 minutes, and then we'll talk a little bit, and then we'll have questions from the
All
audience,
right.
okay?
Thank you very much. Good evening. Yeah, I guess I'm done. You said it. So, yeah, my name is Lindolfo Carballo, and yes, I'm from El Salvador. I grew up in the middle of the Civil War, so you're going to hear a lot of anger from me and a lot of frustration, but so I'm very hopeful that things are going to only get better. So, where do I start? Yeah, I'm from El Salvador. I was a student, and I got involved in the Civil War by joining the guerrilla group. I was against the army, against the government. And it wasn't, I didn't get involved in that for political reasons, as people used to say. And they're communists, they're socialists. It wasn't for that. I got involved because I didn't want to get killed. Because people my age were getting arrested by the army, recruited, and guess where they were trained? I'm sure you will know, right? In the School of America, in the United States. So we were brought here, people were brought here to be trained and then sent back to kill our brothers and sisters. So I'm from a very small town, very tiny, tiny town. At the time that we had 8,500 people in that town. And my dad was the only one who had a pharmacy. That was the only pharmacy in town. And so they call him El Doctor because he was able to cure people, right? I learned how to do stitches and take teeth out of people and learn all that stuff when I was like 8, 9 years old from my dad. My dad only went to 6th grade, and he learned that stuff because he was a janitor. He had to flee to Honduras because for economic reasons. He went to Honduras and worked in a hospital. And that's how he learned how to treat the ill, the sick, right? So that's how he learned. Then when he went back to El Salvador, he decided to put the pharmacy. So nobody knew that he only went to sixth grade. People thought that he was a real doctor. No, and we didn't have to tell anybody that he was a fake doctor. But so anyway, I grew up in that environment and seeing people, the poor, being oppressed, being mistreated. Unfortunately, because we had a pharmacy, I was like more like in that town, like a middle class. So, in seeing so much oppression, so much repression, and many thousands of people not being able to go to school, so I thought, you know what, maybe the guerrilla group, even though they were being called at the time the terrorist group, a terrorist group, way back then, I said, you know what, I'm going to join them because it seems like that's the only way this thing can work. So went to the university, was able to graduate, and then, you know, I had to move to the United States. So I was arrested a couple of times and kidnapped once. So after that, when they kidnapped me and they said, you know what, we're going to let you go because of international amnesty, got involved. The government from Spain got involved. Luckily, we are 10 in my family, 10 brothers and sisters. I'm half and in the middle. So one sister was already in Spain. She was able to rally people around there to advocate for me. And then I had already had 2 brothers here in Virginia, in the United States, and they were able to rally around people here to advocate for my safety. So that's why I was able to get out of that place that nobody knew where I was. So, and then the next day I said, you know what, I'm leaving. Because my family was being threatened. And yet my dad got killed in 1995. So I came here in 1990. That's why when I talking about these issues, to me is in my, you know, I got angry. And I want to apologize because I'm going to get, at some point, hopefully no, I will try my best not to get angry, but you know, this is something that we need to fix. And it's a responsibility that everybody in this earth has. And talking about that, to me, when in order to talk about local issues, in order to talk about local policies or politics that are happening, right? We are local here. We need to think about it globally, right? So then we can see, at least from my end, that's how I understand why it's important what we do and why I am hopeful. And I think we are moving forward. Things happen, like, you know, elections last week, right? Many people are distressed, are upset, but yet we're moving forward. Nothing moved backwards, nothing. Nothing. Even if bad things happen, yet we're moving forward. We're not moving backwards. So, and I'm talking about from my own experience, right? Being kidnapped, arrested, thousands of people being killed, thousands, like more than 80,000 people got killed, and more than 75,000 people were disappeared. We couldn't find them. A town in one day got destroyed. Everybody got killed there in one night. Yet, we are moving forward. We're moving forward. So that's what I think. And so, you know, I like to talk about our world, right? This is our world. Everybody knows it. So we are in the United States, but we all come from different places, and we all move. We will go from one place to another. But we all, as a human being, we are able to mobilize, to go different places, to migrate, right? So, but there are reasons why we do it. Some are because environmental issues, right? Birds, animals, and people move because for environmental issues. Repression, oppression, right? Persecution, all that stuff. Hunger, people have to move. And I like to, so this is, you know, our world, but I like to talk a little bit more about this region. Because, why? Because this region is connected to CASA, to the organization I work for. And that's why I'm very proud I'm being part of that organization. And that's called Central America, right? We all know that. I'm sorry I have to go through this, but I have to say that this is Central America, right? And I am from the smallest country in that region, El Salvador. In that country, there were, as I said, more than 80,000 people killed. I saw when I was growing up, when I was a kid, seeing men, women, kids decapitated in the streets. I remember this woman in front of my high school. We go there is from 7 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon or 5 high school classes. I had to be there at 6:30 in the morning and commute hour and a half in order to get there. I saw this woman, her head, and I have to say it because I saw it and I grew up seeing that stuff. Her tie from her hair in the tree up there, her head, and her body on the floor tied so her body would stay standing. Thank you. Right before going to class. And I was like high school, right? That's sad, but it's reality. So, and so we have to learn, why is this happening? Who is supporting this government to do it? Who do you think was it? United States. So here, and then back Guatemala, still, right? And we all know the history of Guatemala, Honduras, right? Recently there was a coup there. Few people learn about it. Orchestrated by other countries, by other powerful governments or rich people. And then, Nicaragua. So that whole region in the 80s was it's a convulsion. It was like wars everywhere. There were the Contras who were supported by Ronald Reagan, right? Who were in Honduras, but killing people in Nicaragua. And then getting into El Salvador, supporting the government of El Salvador, the army. So, if you could leave, people were fleeing. So more than 3 million people left El Salvador from the tiniest country in that region. So we were, at the time, 6 million, still 6 million, yet 3 million people are outside the country, are in California, Washington, everywhere. I have a sister in Canada. I have a sister in England. I have a sister in Spain. I have brothers and sisters still in El Salvador. I have 2 brothers in Virginia, 1 sister in Texas. So we have to flee, and then where do we go? To the United States or any other country, wherever we were able to survive. And so here is El Salvador, and so it's the smallest country in the region, has only 8,124 square miles. Imagine how small it is. 86% mestizo, 13% white, 1% native. And I'm bringing this up because it wasn't like that 600 years ago, right? We all were native, and they're gone. They get killed. They're disappearing. Our race is disappearing. And as a result of the Civil War, we had more than 80,000 people killed and more than 75,000 disappeared or missing. And I want to take a moment today, if you allow me to. I don't know how many of you know what happened in November 16th. Today's November 16th, right? But in 1989, in El Salvador. Today, and I have that very vivid in my brain, my mind, because I was very close to that place. The Jesuit. How do you call it? Jesuits. You remember? 6 Jesuits got killed by the army. They got into the university, Catholic university, and they killed them because the government blamed them for people getting out to the streets and fighting back against injustice. They got killed. So today, everybody in El Salvador is commemorating them. Where were they? Father Ignacio Yacurilla, how do you call it? Dean or director of the university. He was assassinated. Father Ignacio Martín Baró, Father Segundo Montes, Father Armando López, Juan Ramón Moreno, Father Joaquín López, Julia Elba. She was the one who helped them clean the house, maintain the university, and her daughter, 13-year-old daughter. They didn't survive. And that's where I'm coming from. And that happened. Yet still, there are investigations going on. There are strong links to the army. There are strong links to the president way back then. Yet they are free. They've been protected. Some are in Florida. And they're not being called illegal aliens. They've been protected by the government. They've been protected by the system here. So I wanted to make a moment about that, remember them. Yet we're moving forward. We're not going backwards. So, but why CASA? So I said, I moved from El Salvador, but I was one of millions of people moving, fleeing El Salvador. Many of us came to California and Washington, D.C. When we came here, when we were coming here in masses, we were being persecuted, right? Still, because the government then didn't want us here. We were being persecuted. Our human rights were being treated. We were being pushed back. And we were running away from injustice. We wanted to survive. So, and in 1985, a group of people, 4 human beings got together and decided to create an association, a group, something. They weren't thinking about what we have now. They were thinking about a small group of people going out to the street, teaching people the rights, helping them if they were being, their rights were being violated. They were like going and helping them to the corners on 7-Eleven, on University Avenue and New Hampshire Avenue. So, and they were helping to support people fleeing civil wars in Central America. That's why it was called CASA. It's a Central American. It's an association. And then, but, you know, we were fleeing poverty, militarization, and all that stuff. And so then we incorporated the organization as a 501c3 and a non-profit organization. We started in a basement of a church, Episcopal church in Tacoma Park. That's where we started. So I remember I was back in the 19th, as soon as I came here, of course, I went there looking for help, right? Trying to understand how I could get help and also help my brothers and sisters who were fleeing our home countries. And so that's how I started getting involved and as a volunteer. So we became a community-based organization. And we decided to become a membership organization because we thought that by building members, we were going to build power. Right? We didn't want to be like a charitable organization only. We wanted to build power. We wanted to educate. We wanted to help people, but we wanted them to get organized and help others. That was the ideology And so now, as you saw, here we have more than 85,000 members. And they all have to renew their membership every year. It's not one time only, like every year they have to renew it. So we do that, and so what we do, we advocate for justice, we advocate for respect, we advocate for dignity in our community. That's the bottom line, that's our bottom line. Then, of course, there are issues, right, that comes along with justice, respect, and dignity. So we do it by building community power. We do organizing. We have now a department because we have become the largest nonprofit organization in the region. We just created, as you were mentioning, right, in Virginia. Now we have in Pennsylvania. In York, the mayor from York called us saying, we need CASA here. I'll give you an office in her own, in the city hall. She gave us an office. Now we are operating from there. So before election, we went there, door knocking, registering people to vote. And so now we have a membership drive in Pennsylvania. So we do organizing and mobilizing, and that's the center for us. We educate our community. We have programs for job placement for our community. We do have skills development programs. We do have social services to that community, like legal services. Those are the things that we are all connected. Those programs are connected. All of them are connected. So, for example, someone comes looking for any type of service. Can be legal service. Can be that an employer stole money from that worker. So we talk about what we do, and we encourage them to get involved. Then there is a rally. We call that person. We ask that person to go to give back to the community. And that's how they can give back to the community, by going out to the street, by educating others, by recruiting others. So we build power through organizing. We deal with immigrant issues. That's our bottom. We deal with housing, affordable housing, and environmental issues. So, for example, if you look at there, this is an office, leasing office in Langley Park. Those apartments are infested by rats, right? You know, all kind of animals you can see there. But yet, the residents who live in those housing most of them are from Guatemala, Nicaragua, and El Salvador. Now the population is growing from Africa. They don't want to change the living conditions, but they do charge, and every month they charge our people the monthly rent. But they don't want to make any changes. So we organize those tenants to fight back. And as you can see, they are getting inside the apartment buildings and asking to improve the living conditions there, because we are human beings. We do organize young students, workers. For example, this is something that we fought for. I'm sure you are aware of it. This is the DREAM Act, passes here in Maryland. So we brought thousands and thousands of people to the street to fight for it, and we were able to win. So we are moving forward. We're winning. Maybe sometimes it's very slow, right? But we're winning. Sometimes it's like a little bit faster, which everybody wants. But, you know, you have to take that. And so we do organize, we work around workers' issues, women, students. That's what we do. Educate. We are collaborating. We have another program. This is school communities. We have a couple of schools in Langley Park that we go inside and we work with the school system to help our kids to transition, because you know, so many kids coming from Central America. From where? Guatemala and El Salvador and Honduras. So we help them transitioning and getting used to this new system that they are working, and learn how to work with this system. And so we do education. We have a program, ESOL classes. We have close to 600 students right now. Every night, Monday through Thursday, they gather at a public school in Silver Spring, and we provide with classes. We also provide classes in the morning from 7 to 9 and from 9 to 11. So people can't miss it. They have to, they can go if they want to learn. But for us, it's a principle. We need to learn more and learn skills. Computer classes, we provide with Spanish literacy. We have thousands of people who didn't have the opportunity to go to school in their homeland, in their own countries, right? Can't read, can't write, and that's a change. So we are doing that. And so we help the kids, we help the adults. And now it's a new term for that, right? Cross-generation, I believe it's called, or two generations, something like that. It's a new term that the federal government is using. We have job placement, as I said. We help people, daily jobs, day laborers. We have 5 welcome centers. We call them welcome centers. Right now, we have 1 in Langley Park. We have 3 in Montgomery County, and we have 1 in Baltimore. And recently, we were just awarded by the Fairfax. We are going to get another welcome center in Virginia, our first welcome center, to support people who are in the street looking for jobs. We help to find temporary jobs, and we help to find permanent jobs. And if you see, just in 2016, we have helped 1,092 workers just this year alone, January to now. They have been done 10,255 jobs. These are workers that have done this type of job. You said, you will ask, how come? Right? Is that one person work, sometimes get a job in the morning and job in the afternoon, right? Or work Monday through it's a day labor, mostly. Right? So that's why you get duplicated. And they have been able to earn $2 million, $87,544 till today. I got those numbers today, from January 1st to today. That's what we have been able to do in our neighborhoods. And how that's building power for us. And we provide with skill development, like through vocational training. We are in partnership with Montgomery College and with Prince George Community College, with both of them. And we are now in negotiations with Baltimore Community College and Northern Virginia Community College to help our community improve their skills. As you see, we have 2 labs, vocational training labs, one in Langley Park. This is in Langley Park, where my office is at, and we have one in Rockville. And what we teach there, we provide with electricity classes, installation of solar panels, computer repair, building maintenance, childcare development, ceramic tile, and of course we have plenty more. They are here, and you can get them when you are out, you're on your way out. So they are here, all the vocational trainings that we provide with, and it's increasing. We are increasing those vocational trainings. At least we're going to create in January 3 more vocational trainings that are not in this list. And we have had, from January to today, 1,729 students going through those vocational trainings. And most of them pay. It's so sad that there are many, many more that can't go through those trainings because they don't have the resources, the money to do that. We build power through providing services, social services. So, for example, we have a department that's called Health and Human Services. We provide with legal services, citizenship, financial literacy, community health. Do you know anything about DACA? What DACA is? DACA is for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, for those kids that were brought to the United States by their parents or whoever else, and now they are here undocumented. Barack Obama, the president, passed an executive order that's called DACA, and helped about 3 million people be getting work permits. So they were able to get their work permits in 2014, and now they are working or going to school or paying like in-state tuition. It's much cheaper, right? So all that stuff, we know so many kids that some of them are even working at hospitals. They're professionals. And they were brought here when they were like 2, 3, 4 years old, 7 years old. So, and that's at risk now. With the new president, he already threatened. He said he's going to get rid of that. So Barack Obama last year passed another, we call it DACA Plus, to include more kids who came last year. And that didn't pass. He made the executive order. So a judge in Texas decided that, because in Texas, when you get a work permit, you have access to driver license, right? And they subsidize driver license like 20%. And their argument was like, well, we have to subsidize these kids with driver license, so therefore we call it unlawful, and we don't want that. So they fought it. We was brought to the Supreme Court. We went to the Supreme Court, and that was like 4-4 because, as you know, Scalia passed away. So there are 8 people, 8 judges. So 4 were in favor, 4 were against. It's there. Our hope was that the new president was going to say, okay, let's pass it with the new judge. But the new judge, I don't know if that judge is going to be in favor of something like this. Right? Those are the effects that are already causing in our communities. Millions of people are going to be undocumented. And so, but we, as in CASA, were able to help 1,051 students apply and got DACA, just in Maryland. So those 1,051 kids are at the verge of losing the work permit, and many of them are working, even working with CASA now. We will have to let them go because they can't be employed. And that's it.
Great. Thank you so much. Please, I guess we have to, for taping purposes, move up on the stage. Rather be a little more intimate, but anyway, please sit down, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
And maybe
and
I'll
I
just...
hope it makes sense what I said.
It does make sense what
okay.
you said, very much. Thank you. And I had just a couple questions I wanted to ask you, with thanks for that great presentation, and then we'll turn quickly to questions because we want to get the most that we can for the audience. But first of all, how does CASA fund itself?
So we got funding through the federal government, from local government. Most funding comes from Montgomery County, Prince George County, and local donors and funders, foundations.
Okay.
There are many. We have a variety. And our members, they pay $40 to become members.
Every year?
Every year.
Right. Okay. And do you work with volunteers? You told me that your staff is all professional.
Yes.
You hire the teachers that you hire, the English teachers. It's a professional training environment, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you work with volunteers?
Yes, we do.
What kind of volunteers?
We do, like, for example, for citizenship, we need people to help us, helping people to go through the paperwork that they have to go through. for the vocational training, we also need people who are like professionals that can teach, like for example, even as simple as maybe we in this audience would think is writing a resume, right?
Mm-hmm.
For our people, it's very difficult.
Resume writing.
Resume writing.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, there are many ways like computer classes too.
And how would you describe the population that you're supporting right now, the people that come to you for assistance? Is it demographically, age-wise, more young people, more middle-aged people, more older people?
We have young and adult.
Mm-hmm.
Like you saw in that rally, most of them are kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a young group of young group of people that are involved with us, and also elders or adult. Like in our welcome centers, we have about every day we have about between 50 and 70 people coming to our centers,
Right.
looking for jobs,
Right.
and they are there.
Right.
They go, they see.
So your welcome centers, I do want to talk a little bit more about that, but you have a population then that's broad in
Yes.
age, so a lot of different needs, it sounds like.
Oh yeah.
And without forgetting that we want to talk about welcome centers, I do want to ask you, if you were to tell us, what are the top 3 needs that the population that you serve face today? Could you tell me what that would be?
Yeah, one of the main things to me is that is to have access to resources, like learning more skills. The more skills we learn, the better off our people are going to be. For example, yesterday I was talking with a labor union that we're trying to figure out if we can have a asbestos vocational training, how to remove asbestos. And I asked them how much it costs. It says about $600. A day labor is not going to go through it because they're day by day. So that is something that we were working with the federal government to figure out to get funding sources for it. But now it's like we don't have a hope that we will be able to get that. So that's something that we need to figure out how to help people learn those skills that they need. Computer repair, like for example, there is a Washington Adventist hospital. They are building this new building, right? They will be in need of professionals or people who can learn some skills that can be able to help there. And this is an opportunity for us. How can we, as a community, get together and develop, I don't know, scholarships maybe? That's something that I'm thinking about, like scholarships for our community so they can learn more. A couple of weeks ago, I met with the president of Guatemala, the new president, and asking them, I told him, we large population of Guatemalans are here. So you are responsible to help them. And so we are negotiating and see if we can get some funding sources to get them on those vocational trainings.
Mm-hmm. So you resources to help with training.
With training.
That allows people to get employed.
Yes, yes.
So your welcome centers are places where day laborers can come in the morning?
Yes, they arrive at 6 in the morning, and they about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, then they're gone if they don't find a job. But every day, it's in Baltimore. It's interesting because in Baltimore, most workforce we have there are African American.
Mm-hmm.
People who've been in jail, people who've been, are convicted for something, has been, how do you call them? Convicted. So they are gathering there, and then in this area in Silver Spring, Prince George's, Rockville, it's interesting that the people from Cameroon the community has increased so much.
So your centers are open to immigrants,
are open to anybody.
To anybody.
We have someone from France
Mm-hmm.
in our Prince George Welcome Center,
Mm-hmm.
and he's there. He's looking for a job.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is that make me sad or maybe more like upset is that the workers, that workforce, especially the one from Africa, they're professionals. They are bringing skills but they don't have the resources to move forward. They speak English, French, Spanish, and 2 or 3 more languages. It's amazing, and we are missing that opportunity.
Sounds like they're really feeling an important need, but I've also seen that they're controversial. The Welcome Centers have been at times controversial.
Oh yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, it was before Obama, right? Before Obama, we were under attack, right? Some people who didn't like us were in there and insulting or harassing us. During Obama administration, things went down, were more calm, more relaxed, so we were able to improve, to increase, to grow.
What were the reasons? Was it because people were undocumented? Was it because they were racially, ethnically, nationally different?
Because there is a thinking that is growing in their minds, in many people's minds, is that we are here to steal people's jobs. When that's what they are claiming, but that's not the reality. That's not the truth. So they feel they have been told that we are threatening them because they're going to lose their jobs. And
so people engage with you and tell you that?
Yeah. Okay. Go back home, go to Mexico, because they don't even know where we are from. They tell them, I'm from El Salvador. Where is that? Mexico, you're Mexican.
Okay. I'm sure we'll have some questions on that. Let me ask one more. Affordable housing. You mentioned that this is becoming an increasingly urgent need, particularly in this area because there's such a lack.
Yeah. Do you hear about what happened in Flowers Avenue? So
did everybody hear about that? Maybe explain.
There is an apartment complex in Flower Avenue in Silver Spring, in Long Branch, that the apartment exploded. There was a gas leak or something in Silver Spring, and 7 people died there. Some were from Africa, most from Central America. And when I started working with CASA, it was like in 2010, I was assigned to do organizing tenants there. And the reaction when I went door knocking, because that's the only way you can organize, go out there, talk to people, right, build a relationship. And when I was door knocking there, the building management, the management company, they were calling the police, saying, he shouldn't be there. And when, in fact, we were trying to save lives, right? And that's what happened. And now it's a big crisis there. So we had that, but 7 people died, but there are thousands of people there, literally, that are suffering because of that. And so we are healing. We are trying to figure out how to heal those pains and organize them and motivate them and get them keep moving.
And find housing.
And find housing. And finding housing is like the picture you saw on Langley Park, right? Infested by cockroaches. And you rent those apartments, buildings. An apartment is like $1,300, $1,400. Therefore, you have 2, 3, 4 families living in the same apartment because most of them work in daily jobs, have only day jobs, and or daily jobs, or work for McDonald's.
Do you have relationships with faith communities?
We do. We work with churches, San Camilo's, all those churches that are around that neighborhood. Different churches, Saint Michael. Yeah.
Okay, well, let me give the audience a chance to ask questions, and maybe we can talk more about what you do with those churches in the discussion.
I'm going to go ahead and ask the first question, but then just know that we have microphones here, so if you have a question, just raise your hand, and either John or I will get the microphone to you. Yesterday, I was at just a sandwich shop down in D.C., and I asked the guy how his day was going, Latino guy serving, and he said it was great, and I said, even though Trump got elected, I was opening the conversation, and at that point he was like, no, it's not great. And so we ended up talking a little bit about the realities of, of his life and his world. And I asked him point blank, how did you come here? Did you cross the border on foot? And he told me, he was 13 from El Salvador, to his family to basically protect him from being drafted. They sent him as a 13-year-old by himself, solo, no family connections, nothing. I'm sure you're so familiar with this narrative, and walked across the border, made some friends, ended up coming to DC and just made his way as a 13-year-old. It's an unbelievable thing for me to even comprehend. And my question is, Lindolfo, we're here in Bethesda Chevy Chase, which is a very relatively wealthy area in Montgomery County. It is the wealthiest area in Montgomery County. And I think I'm interested in knowing how many of the employees who are, Latino employees who work here, how many of them had a similar reality? Did most people cross the border on foot? The reason I'm asking is we're trying to bridge relationships, and it seems to me that there is like a reality gap. If you make that journey, your world looks very different. Your experience is very different. For me, also as an immigrant, but I never had to make a journey like that. I'm very privileged in that regard. I have no comprehension of what it's like to take a journey like that. So I'd like to know, just as a kind of a basis point, foundational, how many of the workers that you deal with and you help have actually made that journey on foot and crossed the borders, as undocumented workers? That's the first question. So,
I think I would say most of the workforce we have gone through that. And many of them were deported and are back. So it's, I guess for us, it's a different reality, right?
Right.
And we need to live that reality, and we have to face it. Like, for example, when I came here, I got a visa, and I came here to New York. Then my dad got killed. Right? First, my mom, the same year I came here, my mom passed away of cancer. But my dad didn't want to tell me because he knew that I was going to go back, and I only had like a month and a half being here in the United States. So he was like, no. And he told me afterwards. But then when he got killed, I was in Sacramento running a workers meeting, organizing the workers, and then I got a phone call from my brother saying our dad just got killed. So I decided to go. But then I didn't have a means to come back because I was, I couldn't come here. I was undocumented. So I had to do that journey that you were talking about, right? I was forced to do it. I came through Guatemala, Mexico, and I made it here. And then I joined back the union. I kept organizing. And I know many people, when you talk to them about it, they just cry because they haven't been able to go back after 15, 20 years to see their parents or their family. They can't. They have their kids. I have a sister, 3 kids. She hasn't seen them. And she came here way long back, long time ago. And she hasn't been able to go back. I guess for a woman it's different. Like in this sense, like I was able to say, I'm going back, and then I'm gonna make it back if I can, or I stay. But for her, it's different because there are people where you can be raped, or you can be, there are a lot of people. Many women are pregnant now because when they're on their way back here, they got
Salt.
yeah.
6 out of 10, the fact
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And recently there is a kid who was in Langley Park who was stopped, deported to Mexico. He's from Mexico, and then nobody knows where he is now. He was trying to make it back, and he's missing. And that's happening. That happens every day, every day. And we have people that are incarcerated right now. There is a woman in Virginia who used to work with me that was, undocumented. I didn't know that she was undocumented, and now she's in jail. She's about to be deported. She has 2 kids she lives south Woodbridge. Two kids. One has is a mental ill. She's in jail. She's been there since May. And she just got an deportation order. We think she's gonna be deported maybe next week or a week after.
Those realities are so different.
Okay, thank you. I wonder if you would talk a little bit about the medical challenges that your people have here. Probably lots of them cannot get Medicaid because they are not documented.
Yep.
And how do they get health care? Where does it come from?
Many of them just don't. They don't have access to it. We do have some local clinics that help us in our centers, in our welcome centers. There are some doctors who come and help kids, help people, but it's not, volunteers, but it's not enough. We need more systematic to solve that problem, and it seems like it's being threatened now. That little we have.
Yeah, I have a question about the welcome centers. I'm wondering who comes there to hire them? Is it just like individuals or companies?
Both.
Do they take whole crews of people? and do they always hire them just for the day, or do sometimes people come to the welcome center and get a job that lasts for a longer time?
Yeah, both. I mean, it does. It's all about. There are people who get a job for 1 day, 2 days, or half a day, or 1 week, and then they're out. Like right now, there is a lift. Fall. We're in the fall season, and people need workers to clean their yards. So we do that. Or want to paint your house or clean your house.
Do they get paid in cash usually?
Usually get paid in cash. Some get, but mostly cash.
So they can just make a living by doing that? It just seems so hard. There's no benefits if they're sick and they can't work. They don't make anything. And do most of them at least get a job most days, or do a lot of people come and they just wait and?
Sometimes they go weeks without getting a job.
Oh no, that sounds
so
bad.
we go out every week, door knocking. We go to the neighborhoods, leafleting, saying hire a worker, and we try to have like this Saturday we're gonna have our first Thanksgiving celebration with the workers. We're inviting some employers, and of course you are welcome. You are welcome if you want to join us. It's gonna be in our headquarters this Saturday, and you're gonna be able to meet many of them.
Do you have so do people at the Welcome Center help facilitate the relationship, the negotiation, or do you help with making sure that the workers don't get taken advantage of, or is there anything?
Yes, and thank you for that question. It's very important because we are different. We're not temp agencies, and we are different because every welcome center is a family center. They all feel like as a one family, and they tell you that. Sometimes they are there and they don't want to go back to their own apartments because their friends that have born there, they are there.
It's a community center.
It's a community center. It's a community center. And that's one. The second one is that in every center we have 2 workers. One is an employment specialist and one a community liaison. The employment specialist, you want to hire a worker, you go there and you meet with the employment specialist first. And we have a system there where, Whoever comes in the morning first, sign up a list, and we go through that list. Whoever didn't get a job that day goes first the next day. And that's how we rotate it. And so unless you know a worker that you always want to hire that worker, well then, you say, I want this worker, and you take that worker with you to do the job that needs to be done. And then, but then you as an employer negotiate directly with the employee, with the worker. We have a room, we have a space in the welcome center where you sit there and negotiate price. Of course, we are there just to witness, because we don't get any money from the employer. We just facilitate the negotiation. And you have to sign a document that you are taking that worker, and that worker sign that document that is going with you, and how much you're going to pay, all that stuff. And then at the end of the day, you report back to us saying how that work went. If the worker did a bad job, then you report it, or if that's a good worker, so we help that worker improve.
And do the workers report on the employment?
Unemployment, yeah. There are many employers who try to steal wages from the workers. And so we have, as you saw, the legal department, we have attorneys who goes after them. And if it is the other way around, if it is the worker who is breaking the agreement, then we go after the worker, because it's two ways. And we provide them with trainings, like OSHA trainings. Whenever they don't go to work, there is something happening in that welcome center. It can be ESOL classes or vocational training. And there are many vocational training that we can provide them because we don't have the means, we don't have the resources. That's where we are trying to figure out how we can build that. A scholarship.
You say you don't have the means. It's a question of money, or it's a
money,
question of
because
having experts who can come in and teach?
The money, because we, like for example, we have built alliances or relationship with the community colleges, right? Mm-hmm. So we pay them. We have to pay them, and sometimes it can be like really expensive. For the workers anyway, $300 or $400 for a class. We have building maintenance, and we have many.
Other questions?
I hope.
What's the percentage of documented and undocumented?
That is a tough question, because we don't really ask them.
What's your hunch?
Maybe most of them. Interesting, there is a worker who came from Cameroon, and while here we applied to Harvard, and he got accepted. Harvard University, and he moved a couple of months ago to Harvard. I don't know how he did it, and nobody. So, but anyway. But that happens, that's weird. I don't know how that happened.
I arrived late, so I may have missed this earlier, but I'm interested in the paths to documentation and citizenship, and the ways, I don't know if CASA is able to help immigrants on those paths. So what are some of the ways that immigrants who are undocumented can become documented, become citizens? And I assume I don't know if you're a citizen or if you're on that path, but how did you
I married
documentation?
someone from Puerto Rico. My wife is from Puerto Rico, so I was able to get my citizenship through that. But yeah, there are not that many ways now. It's really, really difficult for someone to become a citizen. We have seen people that are married to citizens that has been deported. Their husbands or wife has been deported because they can't get that.
They didn't complete the
They didn't complete the process. Yeah.
And they were deported while in the process and while married?
Yeah.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah, we know many of them that have been deported.
Wow.
And that happens less here in this region. But if you go down south, that's even worse. That is, I remember I was working for Unite here. You don't know if you know that union of Needle Trades, Industrial and Textile Employees, long name. But in Texas, we were organizing factory workers. And the company owner learned that we were getting them organized, right? So the owner asked them to be there at 5 in the morning one day, and because he called for an emergency meeting with the workers. Once they were there, he closed the doors, and he had immigration there. And they deported even people who looked like Latinos, but they were born here. They deported them to Mexico, and then they had to make a way back because they are from here. But that happens in the South. Has been happening. It's amazing because they are closer to the border. They just put them in a bus and ship them to Mexico.
And they don't have any means as American citizens coming back to fight that.
Yeah, they have to come back and prove that they are citizens.
Wow.
So, what is we've been making reference to a lot of the stereotypes and that people have towards Latinos, towards immigrants, towards undocumented. What's CASA doing, not just to help the skill level of folks, but to actually open up the communities, to start breaking down some of these stereotypes and all like that, and in a long way of asking, how could a church, a faith community like us, get involved with changing people's minds, getting people together, to opening up, because it's easy to hate somebody you don't know.
Yeah.
But when you get to know them, it's a whole different thing.
Or to drop bombs in a place that
right,
you don't
exactly,
know.
yeah.
Which is the case in El Salvador, right? Iraq, Iran, all those places. So, you know what? That is a very good question, but I don't really know how to break that. See, the problem is, one of the problems we have is media, right? That they are the one who are pushing those buttons so we can fight against each other. We can hate each other. And media is something that we need to figure out how to reshape that conversation with them, but also...
So they're not reinforcing stereotypes and
they
that
are,
kind of
they
negativity.
are, yeah.
I know they are, but
Yeah.
so they won't do so much.
Yeah. But I think it's more like, I mean, this, for example, this conversation that we are having is, to me, that's why I'm not only humble, but very happy that you invited me, because to me, it's an opportunity to let you know what we go through. And the one thing is that I like to make sure that we all understand here is that we're victimized, right, in our country. And the government here and many sectors are trying to victimize us. What CASA is doing what we are trying to do is to get them out of that mentality and change it. That's why, for example, we are organizing and mobilizing people. There is a rally going to happen on the 7th in DC. We are going to mobilize. We're going to close the centers. We're going to go out. We are going outdoor knocking and telling people, let's go to Washington, because we have the right to live in this country. We have the right for affordable housing. We have the right to food, to have access to food, shelter, and all that stuff is a human right. For some, like us, it's harder to get there, to do it, but we do it. We have to do it.
So it sounds like you've pinpointed a need that we can do some creative thinking on, right? There's another question?
Thank you. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more about the needs of the female population and how CASA identifies the needs of the female population, what services are being provided, and what needs still exist.
the one thing is that, for example, going back to vocational training, we just got a grant from a foundation that is aimed just to women. And the way we are approaching it is that we are getting funding, other funding sources to provide them with childcare. So the women can go and take those vocational training classes, because that's one big barrier that they have, because they are the mother and father figure in that household. And education is very critical. Most students are women. Most ESOL students are women. And in a very, I mean, most leaders that we have in as members are women. The strongest leaders are women. So that maybe talking about a stereotype that women in our communities, yeah, there is a lot of oppression, right, from men to women, but they are the strongest one. Maybe because of that, they created it, right? They're powerful, and so I think, but education is critical, and we are pushing for it, but it's not enough. We have to do more than that. So, and providing with more opportunities, because there are not that many opportunities. For example, one problem we have with employers is that most employers that come to our centers, they say I want 4 or 5 men or 1 man. And we're like, no. The next one in line is a woman. And they're like, no, I want a man. And we're not, no. Then you're not gonna take anybody. Then you have to take a woman that is there next in line. Unless that woman said, no, I don't want to do that job, which can be like sometimes lifting heavy stuff. Right. But yet we have women who are like painters, who go moving stuff, doing a lot of yard work, a lot of stuff.
And health needs? Do you address? There are special health needs that I imagine the women face.
Oh yeah.
And can you address those?
Yeah, I mean.
You don't really have resources.
No, we don't.
For anyone.
No. There are some community health centers that we work with, but it's not enough. It's not enough. We still, that is a big need. Especially like community based in that community centers. We have so many community centers. We have very little support on that, and that's something that we can easily improve with the support of the communities.
One of the stereotypes that I see is the idea that here in Bethesda Chevy Chase, we're only wealthy and wise, and that we don't really have anything to do with communities that are not like that. But the fact is, I see people that are day laborers on the streets in this area all the time, and people are employed in the many restaurants and whatnot here. And I'm wondering how we get people here, as well as people that you're interacting more with, to realize that there is a point of contact here that maybe people aren't recognizing.
Yeah, I think, I mean, speaking as CASA, we are a well-known organization in the Latino community. But I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but.
Are you saying there should be connections between the people who are here working?
There are people in the day laborer community that are on the streets of Bethesda Chase. They're on the street,
but don't
right
live
outside
here.
the door of this church.
They're working here.
They're working here.
Right.
There are children that live in Silver Spring that are attending Bethesda Chevy Chase High School and Chevy Chase Elementary School that are, blocks away from here. And yet, one of the stereotypes is that these communities don't have any interaction. But I think we need to from both sides, we need to realize that the communities are right here surrounding this church.
Yeah. Yep.
And how can you make connections?
Yeah, maybe creating programs if I live here and there is this church, this is a resource. See, CASA came out of from a church, right? And now we are the largest nonprofit organization. So I think it's allowing them to welcome in the church and creating programs so they can take advantage of them and having the resources so they can come here and feel welcome. Because that's one of the things that we are very faith-based oriented community. Like, when I first came to the United States, I went to a church right away, and I gathered with my community there, and we do stuff, and so this is a great resource that you have to promote that.
It's a safe place to bring people together to do all kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
That would meet needs
Yeah.
in the community you serve.
Oh, yeah.
Could you elaborate a bit more on that? How could you envision that would be? I guess a couple of things occur to me. One is transportation. Langdon and I have worked together and talked about this. A lot of people rely on buses and public transportation. Would this be a kind of place people would have a desire to make the extra effort after working, or on a Saturday or Sunday to take a bus to get here? Could you envision that? And second part would be, what would you imagine happening here as a welcoming place? Meals, conversations?
ESL?
ESL, yeah.
Health?
If you could just flesh those out a little bit, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that I'm sure you will do the same. I think if you don't feel welcome in a place, if you go to Kmart and the people there are treating you without respect and dignity, you won't go there and you won't go back. Or go to the manager and say, hey, that person is rude, being rude. But here for us, we go where we are welcome. So I think that's why and we do it on purpose. We call our welcome centers on purpose for that reason. So they feel they are welcome. There are no clients, they are members. So I think that is critical. Making people feel welcome, but no feeling like you feel sorry for them.
Right.
Don't feel sorry for us. Just give us the opportunity, and we will make it.
Dignity and respect.
Yeah, with dignity and respect.
Marty?
So, like maybe a year and a half ago, we were hearing a lot in the news about unaccompanied minors coming here from Central America, and now we're not hearing as much about it, but I don't know if that means maybe not as many people are arriving now, but certainly those kids who came a year ago are still here, and I'm wondering sort of, how you see them integrating into the community and what the needs are in that area, things like that.
Yeah. Montgomery County has been very, very helpful. The government has been really welcoming. Many other counties, like for example, I've seen in counties in Virginia, they're not allowing kids to go to school, to go to health clinics. I think how can we help them? There are, like at least in Montgomery, that the schools are welcoming them, and we are, creating programs for them and services that they need, But that's one I guess phase of the issue. But there is another one, is to stop international policies that are affecting us. Because, see, I'm here, and the reason why I'm here in the United States is because of the policies that were created here. So it's ironic, right? But for example, we don't, in El Salvador, we don't build bombs, 500-pound bombs. We don't have the capacity to build airplanes. We don't have the capacity to build this army that has been built. You know how much money this government spent in our countries? In my country, in El Salvador, during the Civil War? $2.5 million a day. Every day, $2.5 million. So, and a war, you know what a war does, right? Destroys countries, destroy families, destroy everything. And then, you know, we have to be able to get out of that, whoever can do it. And then when we come here, we're treated like aliens. And then they call us illegal aliens. So, I mean, one way of stopping or preventing people coming to this country is creating fair laws, international laws, policies that are going to help us creating jobs in our country. Nobody wants to leave their home. Nobody wants to leave their own home country. Nobody. I haven't found anybody who said, I came here because I really wanted to come here, or pursuing a dream. That's not true.
They're running away from something.
We are running away. We are running away from a nightmare. And then they say, oh, they're coming for a dream. That's not a dream.
And the impetus is as much political as economic, you're saying.
Yeah. Monsignor Romero, you know, have you heard of Monsignor Romero, Archbishop Oscar Romero? He said he was once asked why he was getting involved in politics when he was a priest. You're a priest, you can't get involved in politics. He said, because I'm involved in politics, because the reason why we're only able to eat beans and rice is because someone is creating policies for that. And they are the one responsible for us, because we are poor, because it's by design. People don't have access to resources, it's by design. They are here in the United States passing laws, right? Someone is designing them to prevent us from having access to those resources.
It's getting late, but I don't want to stop
Sorry.
if anyone has another question.
Yeah, we should end it at around 8:30 probably.
Yeah.
I'm going to just stretch one more time we're really trying to figure out how we can get involved as a church. And I'm hearing a few things. That was an amazing question, I thought. Carolyn asked about, we're so far away for many people, how can we incentivize people to come to St. John's? I want to ask slightly differently. We have, as Langdon said, we have people who work here. They make long trips to come to Bethesda to work. So in many ways, we can be a home away from home, right, while they're here during the day, right? They're here during the day. They have to make a long travel. We can be a home away from home. Whether it's lunch breaks or you know, people who have afternoon jobs, they can be here in the morning. So my question is, what are some things that are needed in the Latino community and in the workforce that we can provide for free, right, at no cost, that people would really want? Like English as a second language is something that comes to mind really fast for me. What other types of, I'm not necessarily talking about skills that we can offer, although that's something, but what else are some needs that you can think of that don't come from a space of pity? We don't want that, but come from a space of welcome and radical welcome that we can be involved in, from the conversations you've heard and the things that you know people need.
Wow, those are very tough.
Like if we were dreaming and we can really do something here.
I guess the reason why people come from Langley Park, for example, work here and go back to Langley Park is because that's what they can afford. If they could afford living here, if I can afford living here, I move. The problem is, yeah, it's affordability, right? Creating that of living here. Not only housing, but food, all the right stuff that is very expensive here in the city for us.
But this is a relevant question right now because Bethesda's in the process of redoing its development plan.
Yep.
And they're talking about affordable housing, but I haven't seen yet exactly where that's going to go in terms of actually increasing affordable housing in Bethesda.
Yeah. And for whom?
And an advocacy, an advocacy on that issue is something others have mentioned could be useful and important, particularly at this moment. That's
right.
Just comes to my mind.
Right. And the issue is that, for example, if you are undocumented, you can't access home. You can't rent an apartment. Those are policies that exist there. So what happened is that, for example, there are places where if I am a citizen, I rent an apartment and then I sub-rent the apartment to somebody else.
Is that how most of the undocumented
yeah.
get their sub-renting?
Yeah.
Subletting from someone else?
So, yeah. That's how we get by, because otherwise you don't have access to it. We're no human beings for many, many institutions. That's a problem. How do you deal with it? So right there, you don't feel welcome, right? I mean, feeling welcome to a community is not going to someone saying, I'm sorry about this, I'm sorry how you feel, that you've been screwed up. I'm sorry about the language. I don't know if that's a bad word.
Oh,
it's okay.
That's lightweight for us.
Yeah,
okay.
It's okay.
But if you, but then creating laws that are affecting us, that is, it's difficult. So
that's something to think about.
Yeah, and that one thing that we have been able to do is to negotiate with landlords to accept our membership card, because we give our members an ID that people can show and say, okay, I'm a human being, I can rent this apartment.
Anybody have a last question or comment?
Like community health fairs, so providing health services that don't really require doctors, but screenings for diabetes, or just nutrition education, tuberculosis screening, smoking cessation, things like that. And do you have community health volunteers?
We do, and we are always in need of more. We do have actually Friday. I don't remember if it is tomorrow or Friday, there is a health fair clinic that we are going to have in Long Branch. And we do have that. We organize fairs everywhere. And I mean, we can do something here too, if needed.
You can do something here in this building?
Yeah, or provide with vocational trainings here.
You can do that?
Yeah.
CASA could do that in our spaces?
Oh yeah, we can do that. If we coordinate, we can provide with, like, for example, right now we are providing with OSHA trainings, 10-hour OSHA training. You need a building, I mean, we do that everywhere. I do that in Virginia, we do that in Riverdale, everywhere we do that.
And conceivably, people who work here
could
come to those trainings if they were set up. So that's a very concrete suggestion.
Yeah. We can do that, and I mean, what we'll need to figure it out is
or a health clinic.
Logistics, health clinic. Okay. Logistics, that's it. But work on that and do it.
So that's a really great suggestion. And I would like to thank you for giving us a context in which to think about this. That we want to think about ways to make connections with people in your community from a context of welcome, dignity, and respect that also address real needs.
Yep.
And we have a resource to do it.
Yep. Yep.
And you pointed us to a number of directions we could go. So thank you very, very much for giving us that context. I think a lot of us are going to go home and think about it and come back with good suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just to say.
Yeah, thank you to you.
Just to say about this is that our mentality at CASA is that you don't have to have one place to do everything. I mean, like, for
Yeah.
example, in my home country, in my hometown, like, for example, at the University of El Salvador, where I went to, it was taken over by the government, by the army, right? Shut down in 1979. And so we decided to gather all the students together, and we found a way of renting out another place. And we call it the University on Exile.
Yeah, right.
Within in El Salvador, like a couple of blocks away from our own university. Until we gather many, many, many students together, get organized, and then we just march inside, like a couple of years later, into the building, our own building. The army was there. They were like surrounding the entire university, and they couldn't do anything. We just walk in and took over our facilities. But you know, that's extreme, right? Here is more like we have space, we have places where we can do it.
And you have welcome.
And yeah, see, there is the willing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.